Welcome into REEL Biz. I am your host, Bubba Startz, and with me today from Fusion Marketing, Jim Fuhs. Jim, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Bubba. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, well, it's absolutely my pleasure, sir. And we're going to talk about a lot of things, how to market a business and how you can help people do that, your new Substack. A lot to cover in a short amount of time, but I want to make sure we give you a few minutes off the top of the show here just to establish a little bit of your background, and then we'll pick it up from there.
Yeah, so I guess my background as a marketer is a little bit different. I was a business major in college, but right out of high school, I enlisted in the Marine Corps, went to Parris Island back in 1984, and then went into ROTC, got commissioned in 1989, and did 20 years, retired as a lieutenant colonel in 2009. And so post Marine Corps, initially, I was doing government contract consulting, but then I learned about this digital marketing stuff, and it really interested me more because I've always been somewhat of a geek, a tech nerd. When I was, in the Marines, people would ask me to replace. People may not know what these are, but they were called modem cards, where you would, we started out at 14.4 kilobytes. I think it was actually our internet speed. So we've come a long way with that. And then I went to social media marketing world in 2018. I had started to do social media marketing for folks. And that's when Facebook Live started to become a thing. And I realized, and this has kind of always been my mindset, as a leader, as a teacher, in order to be able to help people do something, you need to know how to do it yourself. So I started going live on Facebook, had started a show with a friend, Tim Sohn, that we ran for about 5-6 years. And I started to get people asking me to help them produce their shows. So especially during the pandemic, my business actually grew substantially because I was having people like, hey, how do we go live? And StreamYard was a big part of that, what we're recording on here now, because it really was and still is easy to use. And then as you know, the video side of things has really become more of my interest as opposed to doing social media marketing for folks, because that has its own set of challenges. And video really helps us to tell a story. It really, whether it's live, it allows us to share things with people in real time. We can do audience interaction. And so that's what I've been basically doing for the last 8 years. And over the last couple of years, I've gotten into Substack, which is really it's a new category design. I'm a big fan of the category pirates, Christopher Lochhead, Nicholas Cole, and it is a direct-to-creator platform. You can go live. It repurposes your content. You can create publications. It's got some social feeds. And I think the big thing compared to other platforms is it allows you to get subscriber emails. So now you're building a list, which even in these days of AI is very important. So that's kind of how I got to where we're sitting here today, and really has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and Substack's become a lot larger platform in the last several years here because of the things that you just mentioned, right? The ability to get directly into email. So you're not having to build out your website and your email captures, which has always been very important in the social media marketing world. So what now has built, Substack has built is the ability to kind of combine all the things that you are doing on the different platforms and kind of bringing them under one umbrella. And it's something that, will be in the future for our business. I know I have a Substack account and I subscribe to quite a few, but I mainly saw it, and it was mainly in years past where it was just mainly for writing. It was for written content in that fashion. I wasn't doing a lot of that, so I didn't see the value in it. But now knowing that they are venturing more and more into video style and really dipping into that, owning your audience, right, is a big thing. And Substack really provides the easiest path of entry for people who are just beginning into doing so.
Oh, absolutely. And I think you kind of hit on it, Bubba, how important that is, because, even recently, right, last year, as an example, when I was speaking at Digital Wichita, one of the things that had just happened was the bots on Facebook had taken down all these Facebook groups. And these people, if it hadn't been, reestablished, which took a little bit of time, they had no way to contact those people. And so it really goes back to the importance of controlling your audience, controlling your content. Yes, websites are, I think, still have some value, but things have changed because of AI. And, I always like to joke, I guess I think of how I do things as a consumer, and you may or may not be the same way, but I don't go looking for websites usually. I'm actually either searching by topic, right? And sometimes that takes us to YouTube. But AI now is starting to serve up those answers to us at the top of the search engines, or people are going straight into, Chat GPT or Claude or Gemini, name your favorite AI tool of the week. And that's how they're getting served up answers. And people aren't always questioning it. And even the platforms like YouTube are going to start taking some of your, you know, clips from your content and serving it up, but people aren't necessarily going to see all your content. So we have to figure out, how do we stay connected one to one with our audience, with our, whether it's, fellow business owners, whether it's fellow, if we're B2C, B2B, how do you do that? And how do you keep it real? Like, what I love about the fact that we're doing this interview, this is the real Jim and the real Bubba. It's not AI Jim and AI Bubba. I think people like, and I think there's kind of, I don't know if you want to call it a backlash, um, but I think some people like, hey, I want to know that the person I'm watching or listening to is like the real person and not some avatar. And it's getting harder and harder to detect.
And that's exactly what REEL Biz has kind of established itself in the last 6 months. I really just started this platform around the turn of the year, and as the calendar flipped over, because I had already established myself in the music industry. I had done over 500 interviews and had really established that. And for me, my podcast and this platform were really just supposed to be a lead generator, right? It was a way for me to start talking to business owners so we could find sponsorships and support for our other platforms and the events that we're doing, and Operation Combating Veteran Suicide. And just, it was supposed to be that. And I quickly realized that as we got out here, because of all the things that you just spoke about, that, oh, this actually has a ton of value to these business owners that are just out here. They don't have time to start their own podcast. They don't want to do any of that, but we can give them a ton of value, not just only in the podcast. And no, we're not Joe Rogan. You're not going to come on the podcast and all of a sudden have 100,000 followers tomorrow, right? That's not how it works. But what it is providing is an opportunity for folks to get to know you in a very short amount of time that you had to spend, but then it lives forever. It can be on your website or part of your Substack or in all of these places, because we can provide all of that content on the backside, which is what we are. We are a content engine, right? I'm able to take this single piece of content, turn it into maybe, 10 to 20 short form clips, a blog post, and more quote posts and different things that are out here. And yes, some of it is using AI. We use a ton of it on the back end of our production. We use a ton of it in our social media content creation as well. And we have those skills to be able to deliver that to the, our clients and our customers and guests of our show, that are able to now take that and repurpose that. I got to shout out Melissa Dotson, who just shared another post on her LinkedIn today about the episode that she did with us over a month ago. And she's repurposing this content, once or twice a month that she's putting out about the podcast and using it as a consistent marketing. So you do one podcast episode and you're able to use it for maybe an entire year worth of content, sharing that out into your world. And that's what I'm so happy is really starting to catch on now with people who are using our platform. No, it's not about having 1 million subscribers or all of these people. It's about using what you have available to you to build that customer trust, to build your brand authority. And in turn, that's going to have a much higher ROI for you than having 10,000 more subscribers or followers on a social media platform. If you have no way to capitalize and bring those people into your world, whether it's on a Substack or you're getting their email address on your own website, you really have nothing.
Right. And I think what you hit on too is so important about the repurposing and the clips, because what we sometimes forget is that when is that person coming into your, if you want to call it, your ecosystem or your world? They don't know about that show 10 months ago. And so by sharing that clip, now they like, oh, I want to go back and watch that, because people don't always start at, episode one and then catch up to current day. So there's nothing wrong with taking that old stuff and putting it out. In fact, I would say sometimes that's a mistake that people make with content. And I know obviously, Bubba, that you don't do this, but they will make the show and then it's like it's on to the next show. And they've forgotten about all the value that just occurred in this one episode, and they do nothing with it. And it's kind of like they put it on the shelf. And that's a huge mistake, because it allows, by repurposing, and there's so many ways to repurpose, right? It's not just the video clips. Like you said, it can be quote graphics, it can be short articles, it could be a lot of different things. You could, tweet out the full episode, or, Blue Sky, whatever platform you want. And then those, different areas will drive them back to where you want them to really connect with you.
Yeah, it's incredible to see it in real time. And really, I'm kind of guilty of what you've talked about. I took those first, 100 episodes that I did because I was only focused on building a backlog. I did 100 episodes in 9 months and just was like, I need to get good at what I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm doing in this podcasting world. I just need to get reps. Then we moved into video, and it was kind of the same thing again. Starting out 2025 was like, okay, we're brand new to YouTube and all of these things. We have no idea what we're doing. I just need reps. And I wasn't necessarily extracting all of that value, but the value is still there. And I think that's what's interesting. Now we have this massive back catalog of content that now people are reaching out to us with their Roku channels and other things and going, we would love to use that. Right. So sometimes there's not a, problem with establishing early on and building out that shelf of having that content. And now we're getting better at, okay, how do we really infuse a ton of value to this? And now reaching back out to all of the past guests and being like, hey, here's what we can actually do for you now. And here's this piece that, yeah, maybe we did it a year ago or sometimes 2 years ago, but here's what that can now be for you. And for me, working in like the independent artist world, they don't know any of this, right? So I was spending an exorbitant amount of time educating them. They're like, hey, this isn't thrown away. I got introduced to Jelly Roll from podcast interviews he did 3 years prior to me meeting him. Think of it like this. I watched a new series on Hulu today, or, this week. My wife and I just kind of binged the 2 seasons of it, but we got introduced to it when they're already working on season 3, right? And we went back. So thinking about our own content in that way is like, oh yeah, just because we did it and it's old news to us doesn't mean that it's not brand new to all these other people. And it works into all of this and can be something that lives and can be drawing in new customers and building trust and doing all the things for not just a year, but maybe 2 or 3 years. The shelf life of some of these things are extremely valuable. And reposting old content, there's nothing wrong with that, even on the short form side as well.
Yeah, in fact, that's something I've been doing more of myself, because, I think, as an example with Facebook specifically, you used to feel like, oh, well, one, I shouldn't post more than once a day on Facebook, or I can't put stuff out there again, which was, back when, Twitter, right, is one of those places that you could, because, and Facebook has become the same way, is, first of all, the algorithm doesn't show everybody your stuff. And so from a chronological standpoint, that's how people are seeing things. They're seeing it chronologically. So if I post, a short video today, and then I post it next week, the same audience may not see that both times. And even if they do, they may think, oh, well, that's the one he posted last week. It just happened to show up in my feed. And so, but I think to your point, taking that older stuff, it's kind of like, and I've done a couple, right? I'll even say a flashback to, 2 years ago when we did this, and I've gotten some really good, reaction from that. And some of the stuff that you have that is older truly is evergreen, right? Or maybe you have some fun with it, and, it's that stuff that didn't age well, right? Like, oh, this is when so and so said this, so that didn't age
Oh,
too
there's
well.
going to be a lot of that in my future. Don't worry, Jim. Especially on the sports network, for sure.
Yeah, no.
It's incredible to talk with someone who's really been, really had your hands in this and really an expert in that social media marketing world, and now the evolution of all of it, because I'm playing catch up. I've only been podcasting for a little over 2 years. I really only started calling myself a podcaster maybe like 6 months ago, where I was like, okay, I think we have a handle on this thing. But in that time, we have almost 1,000 episodes, probably more than that we've done. All of these interviews, these reps that we've built, we're just now really starting to become an expert in that field. And we already have some accolades to go along with it. Content creator of the year, best podcast of the year, the experience that we're bringing, the authority that we have in the field, and the production quality that we bring. It's really incredible to know that I've probably built up a decade worth of content in a short amount of time, that if I stopped now, I would still have all of this, but I'm going to keep going. And it's always going to find this and find a home. And once the company grows enough to where I have, I can pay a marketing person to do some of the stuff for me that knows better how to utilize it. For me, it was all about stacking up and batching all of this content and having something now established, and then being able to build off of that. But if you never start to build that, you're really setting yourself behind. And I feel like, the advice that, I would give people is, like, get started creating something consistently. And yes, guesting on podcasting is nice, but even if you only do one once a month for your own, and you're able to show up and start building a community around you, no matter what your business is, it will serve and pay dividends for you for many, many years to come.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, because I will tell you, you may run into the same thing. I mean, we're recording this, right? This isn't actually live, which is got its own, pros and cons. But I'm surprised how many businesses have no video at all. And they're missing out on a huge opportunity to, one, teach people about what's the problem you solve, because that's what people are looking for. They don't care necessarily who Bubba is, who Jim is. It's like, well, what problem are you solving for me? And so if you lead with that, even with videos. Like, I've told some of these trades folks, do a before and after video. Like, hey, we're out here fixing this person's, plumbing. This is what it looks like right now. When you get done, look how great it is. That visual is powerful. Podcast guesting also, because you're getting a chance to tell your story, which you're allowing me to do right now. So it's not always about, oh, I got to have a show. No, you need to get your message out, because, a good host like you are, is you're having an interview. It's not, just a one-sided conversation. And I think that's where you really have to think about, if you're going to have your own show, what is the purpose of having that show? And I think that is where there's just still so many businesses, small businesses. And the thing is, the barrier to entry is really gotten so low. I mean, literally, you can do it with a phone and a decent mic on your phone to make sure you're getting good audio. That's how you can get started. It's that simple.
Yeah, there's really very, very few excuses that hold any water whatsoever. Time is maybe the biggest one. A lot of people say that they don't have time, but if you have the right equipment, you could do it in your commute. Your podcast could be you in your car talking while you're stuck in traffic every single morning, right? Like, and just putting that out there. And granted, maybe that's not a great video portion, but an audio version, right, may suit that very well. There's just so many directions people can go. And I think that so many people get paralyzed by thinking that they don't know how. And it's like, look, if you've ever FaceTimed your kids or your grandkids, you can do a video podcast, right? Like it's pretty much that simple at this point. Finding the distribution points easier and more affordable than they ever have been. You can upload it directly onto your YouTube channel, and that could be the end of it right there. But you're building that long-term trust with new customers, and you never know who's going to find you. And especially if you're doing a good job of marketing that show and using it in the ways that you should. Jim, before I let you go, I'd love to get you to just share kind of one piece of advice you would have for business owners that just have nothing going for them. What's kind of your entry level? What's that first step for them that have no video or maybe a lackluster social media presence?
I would say the probably the first and most important thing is to start engaging with other people's content and following other folks maybe that are either in your area, answering questions, because I think sometimes people get caught up in like, oh, I've got to create all this content. Well, if you start providing good engagement, which is more than hitting, the like or the love, but actually typing something in the comments, that's going to get people interested in you. And it's all about building credibility. So I think engagement sometimes can be the quickest way for you to start to build relationships.
And what platforms do you recommend that, especially business owners, what do you recommend that they join and where they spend their time?
Well, I think it's partially based on who your ideal client is, whether it's a consumer or whether it's a business. But my three right now, I would say LinkedIn, which is probably more B2B, YouTube, but of course that's very video centric. But then Substack is really growing, and I think Facebook is not a bad place to be. But I always say to people, I don't tend to go to Facebook looking for business solutions. I'm more likely to go to those other three platforms. So I wouldn't always get so hung up, because I think you hit on this earlier in this show. It's not about having thousands and millions of followers. It's about having the right followers. So I think that's what you got to think about, is like, well, where are the people that I'm really going to engage with and that are looking for my business? And then of course, make sure you've set your business up on, Google My Business and Bing, so that when people search for you, they find you and you get reviews as well.
Awesome, Jim. Well, I appreciate your time today. Look forward to working with you in the future as we continue to grow. And I'll be jumping on Substack to make sure I have my account set up properly and spending a little bit more time over there. I haven't necessarily been keeping up with changes and growth on that platform necessarily, but I will now. So I appreciate the advice there. Thank you so much for coming in, sharing some of your expertise, and thank you for being part of the scene.
Thank you, Bubba, and thank you for what you're doing for veterans and supporting the cause to try to prevent veteran suicide.
I appreciate that. It's an absolute honor of mine to be able to serve as Director of Marketing and PR for Operation Combating Veteran Suicide, and to continue to raise awareness out of the by far the biggest problem in our veteran community right now. So, Jim, I appreciate your service to our country. 20 years, a long time, and now getting to turn that service around into the business world for so many others, I think is commendable at the least. So thank you for that, and have a great rest of your day, and we'll chat soon.
Thanks, Bubba. You're worth it.